The best of money matters. Wealth Tracker.
Welcome to the Wealth Tracker, where we dive into the uncharted territories of niche investment strategies that promise to redefine wealth. Hello, I'm Hongbin Jeong. Tequila has taken an extraordinary leap from a party staple to a sophisticated premium spirit now compared to the finest aged Scotch whiskies. No longer just a trend, this transformation has redefined tequila's position in both the luxury market and the world of alternative investments. And as tequila continues to gain status as a premium asset class, key parallels can be drawn between its rise and the established market for Scotch whiskey. Both industries have leveraged elements such as terroir, aging processes, and geographic authenticity to enhance value perception and long-term investment capital. So why is tequila suddenly attracting global investor attention? And what kind of returns can investors expect from aged tequila in today's spirits market? Well, joining us today is Jacob Daniels, who's a sales and marketing director at Gordon PSI, to unpack the factors behind tequila's premiumization and why you should invest in it today. Hi, Jacob. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Anne. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us. Well, Jacob, I just want to ask you, tequila has gone from a shot spirit to a premium sipper, much like fine whiskeys. What's driving this big shift?
Well, there's a number of factors there. One of the key things is what we've seen right across the global spirits market, which is this trend towards premiumization, where consumers are ultimately willing to pay more for quality, authenticity, and craftsman and heritage behind the bottle. Also with tequila, we've got improved production methods, the introduction of 100% blue agave as a primary ingredient, and then the adding or the rise of aged tequilas such as Aneco, Extra Aneco, which introduces more complex flavors to the spirit and encourages sipping rather than the quick shot consumption that we typically associate tequila with. And we've also seen a lot of celebrity endorsements. You've seen George Clooney, for example, has come into the market, and that's helped reposition the spirit as a far more sophisticated and high-end beverage. So we're moving away from that sort of party shot image to a more storytelling around the heritage and artisanal nature of the product. And interestingly as well, the use of 100% agave appeals to a growing consumer group that are looking for more healthy products. And this aligns well with them when we're using such natural ingredients.
Okay, so drawing a direct comparison here, what parallels can we see in how Scotch whiskey and tequila achieved premium status?
Well, again, there's this emphasis on quality ingredients. If you look at Scotch whiskey, they rely heavily on the quality of their water and the barley. And with tequila, there is this focus, again, on 100% blue agave, whereas in the past, tequila was utilizing other sugars other than the 100% agave. Then we've got the introduction of aged expressions, this maturation process using oak barrels, much the same way as Scotch whiskey, single malt Scotch whiskies. These aged expressions ultimately command higher prices because it all produces a more complex and smooth beverage, and there is that value that comes through aging. One of the key things, I think, from an investor's perspective is also the strict regulations around both industries. With Scotch whiskey, we have the Scotch Whisky Association, and with tequila, the Consejo Regulador del Tequila. So they protect the appellation and they ensure production standards that guarantee authenticity and ultimately quality. And a very, very important aspect is both spirits emphasize their rich history, utilizing traditional production methods and, importantly, the expertise of master distillers and blenders that appeal to consumers that, again, are looking for this authenticity and in some cases, a real connection to the brand's story. Mm-hmm. And we've also, both spirits have been very successful in expanding beyond their traditional markets. We've got growing demand that we see in Asia, Latin America, other regions, Europe, obviously a very important market, which is driving up prices for these premium offerings.
Right, right. Well, how does tequila's successful premiumization then directly contribute to making cask investment a smart move similar to aged Scotch whiskey casks?
Well, the key thing there is value appreciation with age. I think most consumers, if they have a liking for single malt Scotch, will appreciate the difference between a 5-year-old expression from a reputable Scottish whiskey producer and a 25-year-old expression from that particular distiller. There's a pretty significant difference in price. And again, this maturation directly increases the spirit's value. Limited supply as well. The agave plant takes 7 to 10 years to mature, which creates constraints on supply. And again, with this growing demand for aged tequila, this scarcity drives up both bottle prices and ultimately the underlying spirit that's still maturing in casks. I think another key thing that investors consider, Scotch investors have considered, is the fact that they have a tangible asset that's less susceptible to the volatility we associate with traditional markets. And we've also got an unusual situation with tequila where tequila producers quite often supply brands who don't have infrastructure for storage, that sort of thing. And so they're looking to buy that extra Aneco immediately without having to go through the process of maturation themselves. And that means that from an investment perspective, there's a clear exit there in place because these brands are struggling ultimately to secure a supply of extra Aneco or aged tequila to satisfy their markets. And it is quite tax efficient as well, certainly from a UK perspective. It's regarded as what we call a wasting asset and therefore doesn't attract any capital gains tax when investors actually come to exit their casks. That makes sense.
Okay, I mean, there's also this concept called terroir in a premium tequila, similar to fine wines or Scotch whiskey. What does this concept mean and how does it influence flavor and value?
Well, terroir refers to the environmental impacts on the character of the product, and we talk about terroir certainly an awful lot in wine. And it's increasingly important with tequila. These external factors such as soil composition, for example, climate and elevation, where we have, certainly with tequila, that we look for 100% blue agave, typically grown in the highlands, which it makes for a much sweeter agave, and subsequently those sugars contribute towards a more complex tequila. And I think it's important, again, from a consumer's perspective, because it also highlights the uniqueness of any particular tequila. It allows producers to express their craft and their specific origins, which appeals to consumers that are looking for that authentic and distinctive experience. And this terroir also impacts the value of the product ultimately. These are when producers lean into the terroir aspect of their production, it's perceived as a more artisanal product and subsequently will command higher prices because of their unique character and, importantly, limited production.
Okay, very interesting. So do regulations and authenticity certifications play in supporting the premiumization and investor confidence in aged tequila as well?
Absolutely. This is really, really important. And within the Scotch whisky industry, it is governed by the Scottish Whisky Association. And as I mentioned earlier, with tequila, we have our own regulator, and that ensures that the appellation of origin is adhered to. This is a legal framework that dictates where tequila can be produced specifically and how it's made. Again, the use of, for example, 100% blue agave. And it ensures that the tequila is a genuine product and preserves that integrity. In addition to that, there's strict standards associated with labeling and aging. Again, these are parallels between tequila and whiskey. Each tequila bottle has to carry details, identifiers of it as its production. And then the aging categories, they're very specific when we talk about tequila. You have reposado, aneco, extra aneco, and this ensures consistency again, and this is what consumers are looking for when they're buying premium products. So these regulations ensure consumers that they are ultimately buying a high-quality, authentic product, which ultimately fosters trust in premium tequila brands.
Okay, very interesting as well. But fixed return products in both tequila and whiskey markets promise brands will buy back aged spirits. How does this protect investors, especially during market uncertainty?
Yeah, it's a good question. And obviously, what we're looking to do there is to an extent mitigate volatility. These contracts will provide investors with a predetermined exit price, which insulates investors from sudden market downturns, fluctuations in demand. It acts almost as a safety net for investors. Importantly, again, we've got this guaranteed liquidity. Investors have a clear and reliable exit that comes in the form of contracts ensuring they can exit their investment when they desire, unlike having to find individual buyers in potentially in a liquid market. And key is the professional management of the assets, of the liquid, managing the aging process. These sort of things ensures that ultimately after this period, our investors are putting back into the market a quality product and they are assured predictable returns. They're not always fixed in the strictest sense, but you have minimum buyback guarantees that offer a more predictable return profile, if you will.
What are the primary factors then, Jacob, that attract new consumers to premium tequila, moving them beyond traditional perceptions?
Well, again, the introduction of aging makes for a wider range of flavor profiles. Again, we've sort of the white tequila or blanco, as we call it, right up to extra and echo, which is 3 years and older. And this caters to, the diverse preferences of more sophisticated consumers. Authenticity and craftsmanship, again, we lean into this in both the Scotch whisky industry and again with tequila. There's, I think a lot of consumers like the story behind the product. We've got traditional production methods which make for a compelling story. Often, as I've said, we're utilising 100% agave, additive-free spirits, and this aligns with a lot of premium buyers' desires. That's what they're looking for ultimately. Again, celebrity endorsements have played their part. I don't know how important it is, but it clearly is for some consumers. And again, this sort of perception that tequila is better for you in that it only utilizes natural ingredients, if you will. And there's innovation. Again, the aging process has certainly elevated tequila and its perception as a premium drink, because the aging process contributes again towards this more complex and sophisticated beverage.
Okay. Well, then how do you see, demand for premium spirits, including tequila and whiskey, evolving globally? What makes these high-end markets resilient to price fluctuations?
Well, I think when we're talking about premium products, obviously consumers are less sensitive to price fluctuations. For example, if we look at some of our emerging markets, we've got rising disposable incomes there, growing middle class. You've got more discretionary income to spend on luxury goods, including premium spirits. And just shifting consumer preferences, I suppose, this trend towards drinking less but better, with consumers prioritizing quality and provenance over pricing. And that sits very well with the way that tequila has evolved over the past decade or so.
And before we let you go here, with the growing demand for premium spirits globally, how important is diversification for investors in both whiskey and tequila? I mean, beyond the U.S., which emerging markets are key?
The most important markets to us are Asia and Europe. These are typically really valuable markets when it comes to premium spirits. I think ultimately, you look at China, there's this rapidly growing middle and affluent class, increasing disposable incomes, and again, they have a taste for Western luxury goods. India, for example, certainly in the Scotch industry, is projected to be one of the major regions for growth when we talk about premium alcohols. Again, they've got a large population and increasing wealth. Latin America is another one where we've got this situation where increasing disposable income and importantly, a growing appreciation for premium spirits. And even Mexico, whilst that's the source of tequila, its domestic premium market is also growing significantly. And then Africa, if you look at South Africa, that's the leading region in terms of a growing demand for premium brands. But we are seeing it with other African nations as well. Primary market for tequila at this moment in time is the US market. It's currently worth about $14 billion. But with these markets opening up to us, it's predicted that over the course of the next 5 years, that market will effectively double in size.
Some great insights from you there. Thank you so much, Jacob, for joining me today.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. That was Jacob Daniels, Sales and Marketing Director at Gordon PSI. This has been the Wealth Tracker with me, Hongbin Jeong.
Before acting on the information on Money FM, please consider if it's suitable for your own investment objectives, financial situation, and risk tolerance. To listen to more great interviews, download our podcasts at audio.sg or download the audio app. That's AWEDIO, audio at the App Store and Google Play.